The CDU and CSU are currently gaining favor with voters. That says a new poll by the INSA Institute. The union comes to 27%, significantly more than the Social Democratic SPD. The upward trends for the union solidifies. In the new Sunday trend by INSA, the CDU-CSU is ahead of the SPD for the first time since August 2021. In the survey that the Opinion Research Institute collects weekly for a German newspaper, the CDU and CSU come to 27% this week, which is 3 percentage points more than the previous week. The Social Democrats lose 4 percentage points and slip to 22%. The Greens with 16% and the Liberals with 11% can keep their values from the previous week. The AfD remains at 11%, the left at 6%. The so-called traffic light coalition would only come to 49%, a Jamaica coalition of Union, Liberals and Greens to 54%. According to the report, the reason for the poor poll numbers is clear dissatisfaction with the work of the traffic light government and Chancellor Olaf Scholz. 46% of those surveyed stated that they were dissatisfied with Scholz's work, while only 32% said they were satisfied. At the beginning of his term in mid-December, 36% were satisfied with Scholz's work and 22% were dissatisfied. The survey confirms the results of other institutes. The union has also overtaken the SPD in the new ARD Germany trend by Infratest DIMAP and in the most recent Forsa poll. In both, the union is at 27%, the SPD only achieves 22 to 23%. Federal Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht wants to procure armed drones during this electoral term. The deputies send the soldiers into action. The best possible protection must be guaranteed there, she told the newspapers of the Funke Media Group on Sunday. However, this should not be about autonomous weapon systems, but always and ultimately people have to decide. She says, if this is guaranteed, then armed drones can serve to protect the soldiers. It is their job to ensure that they are procured before the end of this electoral term. Whether and where the weapon system will be used is always decided by Parliament, the minister emphasized. Rules of engagement that take all ethical issues into account are necessary. These must be crystal clear that it is about reconnaissance and protection and not about autonomous warfare or the targeted killing of suspected terrorists. Lambrecht referred to the coalition agreement in which the Social Democrats, the Greens and the Liberals agreed on armed drones. The coalition agreement states that the acquisition of armed drones for the Bundeswehr will be made possible under binding and transparent conditions and taking into account ethical and security policy aspects. When they are deployed, the rules of international law apply. We reject extrajudicial killings, including by drones, they say. The debate about arming drones or armed drones has been going on in Germany for over 10 years. Opponents of combat drones argue that the inhibition threshold for using weapons is lower compared to manned combat aircraft because the drone pilot is not endangering himself or herself. First, Deutsche Welle reporters were not allowed to travel to Moscow with Scholz, but then they were. This made waves as the Kremlin had recently banned the station. And now the Chancellor has spoken. Chancellor Olaf Scholz learned from the media that he was irritated by the fact that a team from Deutsche Welle would accompany his upcoming trip to Moscow on February 15th. The process was perhaps a bit of a sign of how excited things are, said the Social Democratic politician on Sunday in Berlin on the public television program Report from Berlin, shortly before leaving for his inaugural visit to US President Joe Biden. The German newspaper Tagesspiegel had reported that the Press and Information Office of the federal government had initially rejected the German foreign broadcaster, which Russia imposed a broadcasting ban on Thursday. Government spokesman Steffen Hebestreit tweeted on Saturday evening, to prevent any misunderstandings, Deutsche Welle has been invited to the Chancellor's trip to Moscow. A spokesman for Deutsche Welle confirmed the statement when asked, and after the cancellation they got a commitment. However, Traveling with them also depends on whether the person concerned is granted a visa by Russia. The Ukraine is engaged in saber rattling. With this statement, former Chancellor Schröder angered many politicians in this country, including those in the SPD. The Jusos, that's the young socialists, are now distancing themselves and calling on the government to act on Nord Stream 2. Juso chairwoman Jessica Rosenthal sharply criticized former Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, also SPD, in connection with his statements about Russia and Ukraine. She said, Gerhard Schröder does not express himself as an SPD functionary. He no longer bears any responsibility in the party, and that's a good thing. Rosenthal told the Berlin newspaper Tageszeitung, and she said Schröder spoke as a representative of Russia's interests and as nothing else. You have to name it clearly, she says. The Russian state-owned company Gazprom announced on Friday that Schröder had been nominated as a candidate for the supervisory board. The former chancellor is already chairman of the shareholders committee of Nord Stream AG, which is majority owned by Gazprom, and head of the supervisory board at the Russian state-owned energy company Rosneft. He recently caught a stir by claiming that Ukraine was saber-rattling in its conflict with Russia. I don't know what that guy is drinking, by the way. In view of the conflict, Rosenthal pleaded for the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline to be put on hold now. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.